primary ignition.
This is Star Wars.
Look out!
Core World News.
You may fire when ready.
From the bright center of the galaxy, I'm Rex Contact, and you're listening to Core World News, your horror news service providing in-depth coverage of all the latest stories from around the galaxy. Now, your news segment rundown for March 4th, 2022. Starlight Beacon Bulletin. Kyber Crystal Comics Corner. But first, the news.
All right, thank you very much, Grex.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone for joining us this week, gentlemen. Great to see you, Grant, Adam.
Good to see you
you guys.
Good to see you.
Bright
Let's
suns.
party. We have neglected our duty as Core World News in bringing you the news the past 9 weeks. So we're gonna.
That
do
is
a little...
the review I keep on seeing. It's like, you guys say you're a news podcast, but you don't do any news.
They're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
They're really not.
Also, I will say, for argument's sake, not a lot of news.
Yeah. I don't feel that bad about it because it's really just sort of.
There's a lot of the
whiffs
news,
of
the do's, the numbers.
news, I think.
Like, we don't do a lot of news because there's not a lot of news. Sometimes.
A lot of rumors.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of
Yeah, if we
starts.
acted on rumors, like that would be another story, but we don't.
I know.
do that.
Sometimes we do, but it has to be a juicy rumor. Maybe we'll get into some of that. Anywho, let's cover some news. There's a bunch of news stories. I think we've all sort of heard the things in various corners. I'm going to start with one randomly. Star Wars Eclipse video game that had an excellent trailer come out weeks ago, has announced whinily that they are having trouble hiring people, and they don't think it'll be released. The game will not be released till 2027 or 2028.
That makes sense because those games really do focus on the minutia, like Quantic Dream games, because it's like press X to play the drum. Like search underneath the drum for hidden message. Message leads you to spaceport, docking bay. Talk to this, like character.
Swipe D-pad to the right and up to open door.
Yeah,
that's literally something you had to do in hard rain.
It's a very involved game, I bet. So
yeah. Can I make a point? Imagine if they said, "Here's a preview for a movie. It's not coming out for 5 years."
Right.
Yeah. Don't release the trailer. Sorry, just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's soul crushing how long it takes to make these video games. I mean, I understand it. They're amazing. It's like
100%.
building a 90-hour feature film, like one pixel at a time. It's a Herculean effort. I was actually talking to Rocket Dell the other day, and he was saying, Quantic Dream like notoriously has small crews. They work with small crews, and so it's a more boutique sort of style. Was his positive spin on this. The other spin on it is that they've had more and more they've been sort of riddled with controversy, sexual harassment allegations of toxic work culture, which is rampant throughout the video game industry, and that's not going to make it a very attractive place to work. There's 3 months ago they were looking to hire 60 people in Paris, and then just this past week they're looking to hire 67 people in Paris. So it's
so they lost 7.
Right, exactly.
Great. That's some tough math.
Yeah, I mean, not really good early returns on how this is done. I mean, I think we're in a period of an inflection point as far as workplace fairness.
And especially in gaming, like this, as you mentioned, Ben, it's notorious. And so I just want to make it clear, part of me is not saying get the game out faster. I 100% understand. I am fine that they're working on a game that will not come out for 5 years. But please don't release a trailer until you're at least a couple of years out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, right? it's the chance that it's in 5 years, I'm going to even remember I saw that trailer is nil.
I thought that
I'm hoping to be alive
was
in 5 years.
Right?
I thought that trailer was money. I love that trailer, guys.
Oh, it's great. It's great. I'd love to play that game. I will try to remember it exists in 5 years.
Yeah.
It was cool though, because it was High Republic era, correct?
Yeah.
So it was new galaxy basically. So, and it was almost like a live action depiction of that.
Yeah, I thought it was
okay.
a fun direction to go, and then I thought it generated hype for the brand.
100%.
Even if the game's not going to come out for 5 years, it generated hype in my opinion. I thought it was pretty rad.
Well, let me ask you another maybe controversial question.
Let's start with controversy today.
Well, maybe not controversial is overstating what I'm about to say. So we just finished phase 1 of 3 phases in the High Republic.
Yep.
Right? We are going to finish up the 3rd phase probably in 2 to 3 years. So by the time this game comes out, theoretically, the entire storytelling has happened within the High Republic era. Like it just seems like a weird, and again, it's workflow. We know what's going on, but it just seems odd, right? To release a game in an era that we might be somewhat done storytelling. I mean, I guess we have Acolyte coming out, right? Which is probably going to be a longer series.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We don't know. You know,
I'm
I
very
think that's
excited
an
for this
excellent.
series.
That's
Me
an
too.
excellent point, Adam. I want to make another point is that, you know, I had the very sort of snarky and bad attitude. There's only one game title for our video game segment,
Yeah.
but now we literally have. Well, I don't know. I'd have to create a new one for. There's actually no games.
Yeah.
Like there's 0 active Star Wars.
Ben is upset. Do you hear that, people? Do you hear
I
this
missed
right
this,
now?
Ben.
Yeah.
You've been so hopeful for
where
the
we
past 2
begin.
years.
Yeah, I mean, but like, how? It's just like, do you hate money? Like, you're Disney.
I will
like,
say,
just make games. They don't have to be like the best games ever, but one probably is going to be pretty good.
yeah, I'm about to actually you.
Okay, please.
We are about to get the Lego Skywalker saga coming out.
Doesn't
next
count.
month.
No, if my main character has like rivets on the top of his head, it's not a thing. That's
I will say I think what you're arguing is if it's not canon, it doesn't count.
Exactly.
What about Squadrons, Ben? Like that was
Not active.
recent.
Yeah.
Not active. You know, have they been releasing updates? Like,
No.
just EA is a colossal disappointment.
You know what Star Wars needs is just like almost
Games?
like a prod.
Games. They need games.
No, it's sort of like
Ugh.
Burnout or like Project Cars, like
Sure.
or Forza. You get like the entire galaxy basically,
Sure.
and you can just port around. You can just go hyperspace around the different star systems, and you're in a starship. Like maybe you don't get to like walk around in the cities, but it's more of just like exploring the galaxy. Like that's all that we.
So
Everyone would play that game.
there are actively still servers running Star Wars Galaxy.
Yeah.
And I am actively thinking about buying a PC, which I've not owned in a while, just so I can play Star Wars Galaxies again. That's how hard up I feel for Star Wars games.
Exactly. And that's the thing is like they don't understand the need for quantity. And I mean, they really pigeonhole themselves by giving exclusive access to EA because they don't have the manpower, I think, to make multiple games. And
No.
They can only focus on one title at a time. Plus, they're making other titles outside of Star Wars, which is like, no. If you're going to give someone like exclusive access, they should just be making Star Wars games.
I'm surprised there isn't a Clone Wars game. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing to me that they haven't created a
Yeah.
Clone Wars game that's basically spans the entire Clone Wars, and it's like Battlefront level fidelity. And you play as Jedi. You play as a trooper on the ground. You experience all those wars, all those battles, but it's chronological. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's and highly customizable clone troopers, droids, what have you.
Yeah. That'll be fun. Again, I mean, but it does take a long time to make these games. But it's like, you know, if I was doing that, like every 6 months, I would have started a new group on like a new game, you know, for the first 5 years that I was doing this. And
But
just
we are getting
stagger
Fallen
release.
Order 2. That is in development. And
Yeah, probably not for a couple of years at least.
I think they were hoping the end of this year
Oh, really?
was when it
That's
was
exciting.
going to be out.
I hope Marin is a playable character.
Yeah.
That,
Me too.
Dathomir
Yeah.
character.
My
I love
favorite
it.
character.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, Marin be great.
I
Okay.
might do another replay of that game. I platinumed
Because
it,
she
but
was
maybe I'll just play it again.
iconic. I actually Zepho, the soundtrack on Zepho.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, whew. It's like some of the best music I've heard produced for Star Wars, even over some of the films. Just the Zepho sort of theme.
That game was outstanding. I think that, you know, I played the heck out of Battlefront 2, but I did maybe 3 playthroughs of Fallen Order, and it's a beautiful game. It was a lot of fun, you know. Okay, so we got 1 in 10 years. Like, now 12
Dude,
going.
where is the Boba Fett game at this point? Where's the AAA Boba Fett?
Yeah, just like dust off like one, you know, like honestly, they don't really get it. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't need to be a AAA game to make the fan base super excited. They're like, okay, we're just gonna pay these people to finish their game 13-13, and like you're gonna get it, and it's like it looks the way it looks. People would be ecstatic.
Literally created a game mechanic within the first season of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Right? Like they created a system of missions and payment and upgrades. Like that happened in season 1 of The Mandalorian. Just make that a game.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to play that game. Grogu is your companion. You find it like you can create such a compelling Star Wars story and use all the elements, all the pillars that we discuss on this podcast. And just create a fantastic single player AAA experience.
Right. And it doesn't need to tie in the big characters. Like you can, go to a starport and see like Han Solo and Chewbacca there or the Millennium Falcon or something if you wanted to really tie it in. But like, give me a different Mandalorian bounty hunter or like a bounty hunter that you like you said, customized to look like whatever. It could be anything. You can be
the best part about Star Wars Galaxies and like Jedi Academy and those online
kind
of custom server sort of like RP server type stuff. It's like the best part about those games is that there's the downtime. There's like the cantina moments. There's like the talking to people who are just like regular NPCs. And I think like Fallen Order was just a lot of action. And I think what we want is a more laid back galaxy where you just get to explore it. And it's like the Galactic Star Cruiser, but it's in video game format. You're getting to explore every nook and cranny of the galaxy.
Yeah, that's some of my favorite stuff. I think we all love that. Yeah. Speaking of the Galactic Star Cruiser, Adam, do you have? I know you've been wanting to talk about this.
What a segue! So what's been happening recently with the Galactic Star Cruiser? In case people forget, that's the Star Wars hotel. Though from whatever the reviews, we probably shouldn't call it that, but it's the live interactive experience that's connected to Disney World and Disneyland. I can't remember if it's at both, but it's definitely at Disney World. And
Disney World, I believe.
I think so, right? I don't think it's in Disneyland yet. So what's kind of new about this is we know they released a video a couple of months ago that was not received well by most people.
It was in air quotes immediately taken down.
Yeah. And then, but what's happened in the past week is they started to. I don't think it's officially open yet, or I think the first cruises have started. But prior to this, they did basically opening it up to reviewers. And so they have people coming in writing up reviews. And a couple things to note about that, which I enjoy, is that Disney did not pay people to take this cruise, nor did they ask them to pay. But everyone who was on it, they asked them to, instead of paying, they asked them to give $1,000 to a charity. So that was kind of a nice little moment. So all the reviewers were asked to donate. And so there's a lot of think pieces right now. So as you can probably imagine in the internet, that's chaos. Be careful where you click. But I thought it might be fun to kind of talk a bit about what the first impressions of this is. And one thing to note is that the reviewers did not get to experience the full 48 hours of immersion. I think they were brought on for 6 hours. So they're kind of given a, really like, spend a half an hour in what your room looks like, go do this experience, go do that experience, but they weren't given the full like 2-day experience. But a lot of really
interesting stuff. It'd be wild if they blindfold you and take you in vans to like another facility somewhere.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's
like,
I would love that.
Illegal.
Well, the one question I haven't seen.
You don't understand immersion. You don't understand.
Well, they were really trying hard on the full immersion stuff.
Escape pods. Yeah. You get an escape pod, you fire off. Oh, guys, we can really expand this.
But Grant, yes. I don't think you're actually far off from what you're actually proposing in terms of, from what I've heard, the immersion from the hotel to Galaxy's Edge is pretty immersive. And I will say, from being on Rise of the Resistance, that is fully immersive in that, like, as I talked about way back when I got back from it. Like the lines, the cues are immersive. And so that there's moments where you're just basically waiting, taking an elevator and waiting on another group to go in front of you. And you're seeing view screens and you're flying through space. Right. So like, I think they are really trying to get that done, that once you enter that building, you do not exit Star Wars for 48 hours.
That's what I want. I want sensory overload. Just like,
you know, it'd be wild if there was like one Pirates of the Caribbean sort of animatronic character that like comes out on a raised platform you can't get to, and then Kylo can like choke that character out and like throw him away, and then you're like, oh my god, everyone runs.
Well, you can be invited to use the Force with a character.
Oh, what?
That you do. There's a character who is a knight of the or a relative or a descendant of the Wills, of the Knights of the Wills, and you can do Force levitation. Apparently they have something where you practice, and it's fully like clearly someone's watching what you're doing, but actually like makes you feel like you're actually lifting something using the Force.
Sure.
Like from what I've read from
for that, it's worth $5,000.
Knights of the Wills. I love that sort of off-brand Jedi. I love that idea.
Yeah,
let's follow
exactly.
the off-brand Jedi.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's the thing to mention. This is right now the price tag, and the starting price tag is $5,000 to $6,000, and that's for a very simple queen bed and 2 bunk beds, which are not comfortable from what I've heard from the reviews, for a very small room. And if you want a better room,
I call the top bunk.
If you want the better room, it's around $20,000. They're like $20,000 cabins apparently, which I don't know what those look like.
Oh my god!
I better get like,
yeah.
I
like
better get my own
Twi'leks.
Rancor if that happens.
Right.
Yeah, I get to ride a Rancor.
But I was reading some reviews of this, and here's the weirdest thing. So it's $5,000 to $6,000 all in, which is a ridiculous amount of money. Like, I'm not even going to begin to start trying to justify that amount of money, though I would 100% pay that amount of money for this. But I'm a Star Wars nerd who hosts a weekly Star Wars podcast, so no blank that I would pay that amount. I have like credit cards that I would split that between to do that tomorrow. But the thing that's funny to me is that there's a cafeteria, or not a cafeteria, but there's like a dining room that you go to because they treat it like a cruise. And it's free. The food's included. Alcoholic drinks are not. However, there is blue and green milk that you can drink. All you can drink. And by the way, with how much that costs in Star Wars land, I could make back $100 a sitting very quickly. But when you go to you can pay to
cost.
You can pay to sit at the captain's table like you would at a cruise.
Oh.
Guess how much it costs to do that?
$10,000.
You are way off. Way too high.
Okay, good. $1,000.
Way too high.
$200.
Way too high.
$50.
You're almost there. Still high. Still high.
$20.
$30. $30. So it's the weirdest thing. Like, you are spending $6,000 and there's like a $30 upcharge, and who would not say, no, yeah. I can't do that. I
right.
Like it's so weird.
Captain better have a big table.
No, but you're good. You're good.
It's weird. There's also like you can get like premiere, like you can get like professional like pictures taken throughout the cruise for an extra $100.
Tomorrow, guys.
It's just so weird. These weird little upcharges, which are just like, A, why are you nickel and diming? And B, why would you question about being nickeled and dimed after spending $6,000? It's such a weird.
But the one thing I heard was that the viewports, like your cabin viewport in your room, the window, what have you, to space. It I've heard that it sort of has like this squeeze, like anamorphic squeeze effect. It's sort of like, I don't know. It's just, I guess it's highly noticeable and it doesn't feel like.
That can be fixed.
There's no verisimilitude, really.
I've heard competing statements about that because I read the same thing you did, Grant, and there were others who are like people who are like from the New York Times and other people who don't need to be like, getting clicks. Who loved
it in space, and this does not look like space.
Yeah. So it's just weird. Like, I don't know if some weren't working or if they haven't quite figured it out. It's really interesting. Like, in your room,
$20,000 suites, do they have a bigger?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's in those $20,000.
Do they come with helmet?
Has a journalist been in that space?
No, I think they put them all in the steerage.
Yeah. They're like in near the escape pods. They're in like the underbelly of the hull, like the.
But like I will say, like the TV is apparently in Galaxy in the room or the view screen, so that like it's like local channels basically, and that there's actually a droid that you can interact with on the screen that is like just has like a certain number of things you can ask it questions that respond to you.
All right, is there a protocol droid walking around the ship?
I don't know about protocol droids. There are R2s.
Immersion if there was not.
The other thing I'll say, Grant, is you mentioned animatronics earlier. There is a Rhodian who works there, who walks around, whose mask is fully animatronic. So you interact with her completely. Like she just walks and has an animatronic face and that you can walk to. Like it is, from what I've read, one of the highlights is the immersion part is amazing. The staff who works there are fully trained. Like when you go to Galaxy's Edge, like when I went to Galaxy's Edge, some of the people who worked there bought in, some didn't. You could kind of feel it. But apparently, like this is the cream of the crop of the people. Like to get to work on the Galactic Star Cruiser, you're basically an actor. Like you're basically
like off Broadway sort of actor.
Yeah, like it is fully immersive. Like and the other thing is, remember when I talked about Galaxy's Edge, how you have that data pad, or you can use your phone, it turns into your data pad. Apparently, once you walk onto the Galactic Star Cruiser, every single person is handed a data pad.
Hey, can you get a phone case that's like basically makes your phone a data pad?
Probably. I didn't see it at Galaxy's Edge, but if they can brand it,
wouldn't fit in your pocket at that point, though.
No, but like that's the thing. Like you are. It is like I will say. Again, I do not have $5,000 to $6,000 to burn on this. But after going to Galaxy's Edge, and like if you buy into Galaxy's Edge, like if you throw yourself into the immersion, it's so much fun. And that's what I heard from this. Like if you're willing, like in most places, Adam would feel like this is a nightmare scenario. Like I do not like.
Wait, dude, first order do come aboard the Star Cruiser.
Yep. There's a General Hux-like character that you can interact with. Chewie shows up at some point. There is apparently it all caps off, spoiler alerts, with an amazing live battle between Rey and Kylo with a fully igniting lightsaber, meaning like it's not just like it actually just, like a lightsaber would, like there's no tube there that actually just ignites and they fight, and it's fully choreographed and it's supposed to be spectacular.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm on board. That seems like it's a show then. That's a theatrical experience.
Basically. You are in a 48-hour play where it's like Cats. Like they come out and they thrust their groins in your face for 48 hours. That's what this is.
Perfect. So there's helmet polishers.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
I mean, for $20,000, I want helmet polishers.
I mean, the $20,000 suite sounds like that might be something special. You could split that with your friends for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I would do that just for, like, we'd get more friends and then just like crash in that thing. I don't know if they'd.
I don't know what the seating is on that. I will say, if the three of us.
I mean, our Guavian Death Gang suits might not go over well, honestly.
I think I might be a cultist of the Central Isopter, actually.
There you go. Yeah. I love it.
Just slowly sort of like walk through the room.
Skulk.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't have to interact with anyone. I would just like be like, we're all gonna die. Like that would be my whole
Actually, no, I would just dress up as Bespin Luke if that's allowed. Because that's kind of low key. It's like doesn't even feel like Star Wars.
And that's what a lot of people like. If you look at it, they fully encourage that. They actually do sell outfits you can purchase before going on there that are in universe, that are like a couple of them I looked at. Like I think I told you Carly bought a like Princess Leia or a Rey like sweater from Galaxy's Edge that she just has been wearing to teach at school. Like it's that like it's just great and it just works. Like you can buy that stuff. It's not cheap. It's not crazy expensive. Again, everything's relative. We're talking about $5,000 to $6,000. But like I looked at a couple of those outfits where I'm like, I would 100% buy that and cosplay in that thing. Like I would feel very comfortable in that. So they're doing that. They also have they haven't figured out the pricing yet, but they do have like you can go get makeup and stuff done. Like you can get your hair done in Star Wars way. You can get makeup done and stuff. So you can do that in there before you get on there if you want to like fully cosplay. From what I read, if you read a couple of like downsides is that I heard brutalist architecture mentioned a few times in the reviews. Like apparently in the hallways and stuff, it's not as nice looking as you would want. Like I don't know if they're going to update that or it's
I
just
like
kind
brutalism, but that's okay.
Well, there you go, and that's perfect.
I'm a big fan of brutalism.
Yeah, but like I don't think they're necessarily using it in the term they think they're using it. I think they just mean nothing. And the other thing is like unless you're willing to be fully immersed in it, Like, this is not a cruise. This is not a hotel. Like, you have an itinerary that you're going to wake up and be in Star Wars.
This is a 48-hour ride.
Yeah, exactly. I had the thought when I was reading this over going, how do I sleep? Or would I just try to stay awake for 48 hours? Because I feel like I'd be sitting in bed playing on the.
When are you waking up?
Entirely.
So like, when is your phone getting pinged?
I don't know. That's a good question. It didn't really get into that because again, they didn't do the they hadn't been doing the full like itinerary. They gave them to them, but I didn't see the times. You got to figure you got to figure because it's like, kids. You're probably going to bed at 9.
Singing like a nursery rhyme to you as you like go to sleep.
Oh God, I wish.
The guy whose mouth is on the top of his head, by the way. That's
Nightmare Fuel.
Literally my favorite alien.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's not 24 hours. Like, I don't think you wander down to the buffet in the middle of the night, which they got to change that. But they do have a sabacc tournament, so you get to learn how to play sabacc and like you play.
I mean, I want to close that bar just to see what happens when it closes. You know, or I want to see what happens after hours in all of the bars.
Yeah. So like,
wait, how big is the food like dining area and the bar and all that kind of stuff? Is there multiple bars? Are there multiple dining areas?
There's like I think there's one main dining area, and I'm trying to think because there's 100 cabins in this thing, so that has to fit between 400 people. They must be doing seatings. Right, like my guess is they probably seat 100 people at a time, and they must have like. My guess is your itinerary does not.
How is this safe for COVID if it's so enclosed and it's sort of
so
like
that's the whole thing.
That's the $10 million question. I got nothing for you there. Is it safe? I don't know if they're requiring.
There's probably a lot of ventilation. There's probably a lot of air.
I would
there's probably well ventilated, but I'm just saying. It's enclosed because it's trying to keep up this immersive experience.
It's very.
I'm just wondering how that does with certain.
Yeah, it's not like you can go step out onto a balcony. You said there were some outdoor areas, right?
No,
nothing.
You're in.
Yeah, and that's another one of the major critiques is like if you suffer from claustrophobia, there are areas like there's like when you come in and when you're in the dining room, it's very open, and in your room, the window can probably be enough for most people. But when you're going down the hallways, people are like, it feels like claustrophobic at times. Yeah, so
I know that's why I might want to custom myself a mask. So I could wear a mask under my mask.
Yeah. Can I wear my Mandalorian helmet too?
I don't know. I bet you can. They don't let you do that in the parks. But I'm wondering here once they figure out kind of who everyone is.
Yeah.
If they wouldn't let you do that.
You're going to need that thing polished, Grant.
Yeah. I'll take it off to get polished, but then I'll put it back on as I walk through the corridors because the corridors will make me feel claustrophobic.
I read.
I might as well just have my helmet on.
Yeah, if you're gonna feel claustrophobic, you might as well be a character. I read one reviewer who mentioned that so they drop you off much like a cruise at Galaxy's Edge, like you get a day pass to Galaxy's Edge. The other thing I found out is you do get the lightning lane pass to both rides. So remember when I was stuck online for 4 hours at Rides Resistance? Yeah. Well, here's a quick fix. Your $5,000 to $6,000 ticket buys you a quick walk on to those rides, which is great. But apparently you can just, because of the way Galaxy's Edge is formatted, you can just walk out to the other parts of the park. And she talked about doing that and being upset that it didn't give you fast pass to all the other rides. And I was yelling at my iPad, like, but why are you going into Toys Land? That breaks it. That breaks the immersion. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's Star Wars. Stay in Star Wars land.
Right. All right. Well, we've talked enough about this. How about some Schadenfreude? Gina Carano.
Yay!
What's her name's fame? She. I'm sorry. What was her character?
Cara Dune.
Cara Dune. Yeah, Cara Dune infamy. Yeah, she recently tweeted
best performance in all of Mandalorian season 1 and 2. I think spectacular performance, like one of the most well acted screen presence. Undeniable screen presence from.
Yes. Well, I feel like I gave her the benefit of the doubt because I wanted her character to work because I liked her character a lot. Anyways, in real world, she tweeted that the Ukrainian war is a conspiracy to take attention away from COVID. I don't even know what that means. It's so dumb. It's just that she'll never know how dumb she is. Anyways, that just happened. So I think that sort of validates it in case, the anti-Semitism didn't really get you like that.
That got me. That was I was good enough there. And now anyway, I mean, I don't even know.
Wait, first of all, like, was Cara Dune ever like a great character? Like,
Is an interesting character. I thought to be honest, I will 100%.
A great character, but I guess just her performance, I thought was just.
So that was that
bought
sarcasm, Grant, that you were saying before?
Oh,
I thought you were just being
100%.
Well, we know who's the better actor. So what I was going to say
you're a better actor than Carrie.
I gave her. Okay, I will, as a person who was especially offended by what she said. Well, by everything she said, but the anti-Semitism in particular, I will say that like I gave her the benefit of the doubt before she went completely bonkers. I was fine with her. I didn't think she was great. I thought she was fine in Star Wars. I would have been fine with her part of something. I thought it was a really interesting character. It's a shame that she is not dealing with her mental illness, and it's a shame that she's getting sucked into these conspiracy theories. I wish her the best of luck. I hope that she gets the treatment that she needs, and that she uses her influence for better things than. I'm sorry, I'm gonna make you bleep this, Ben, but sitting on the graves of children.
Yeah, it just feels a lot like cruelty, like just. This alt-right and sort of right-leaning parties in our day and age just are, to me, there's just a cruelty there. Leads to hatred, leads to anger, leads to the dark side.
Exactly.
So just
we
don't deal with it on this podcast.
Yeah. Fare thee well, Gina Carano. All right. There's a new novel that was announced, and I know, Grant, you're gonna really like this one. It is titled Padawan.
Oh, Padawan, yes.
Yeah, it is.
I'm looking forward to Brotherhood. That is the novel.
Okay. What's Brotherhood? I'm not familiar with that one.
It's the tales of Anakin and Obi-Wan, I think.
Oh, okay. Because this is the tales of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
Taking place before Claudia Gray's Master and Apprentice. Kirsten White's going to be the author for Padawan, and it's coming out on July 26, 2022.
I loved Master and Apprentice, but the character of Rael Averross like stole the scene for me, and I couldn't even focus on Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan anymore. I was obsessed with that character.
Yeah, Rael Averross is great. So, anyways, that'll be cool. I love these stories. I love the Anakin and Obi-Wan stories, and obviously more Qui-Gon and young Obi-Wan. I mean, again, this is one of the reasons why I really like Phantom Menace. My whole like just the joy in that I had when I first saw Phantom Menace and I saw young Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting their way through, a droid command ship. I was just like, this is I just love it. And
Phantom Menace ranks. I think I have it at 5 in my ranking. Like it's right behind Rogue One.
I get that.
And that's after the original trilogy. And Phantom Menace, to me, is that opening of Phantom Menace with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan was just a new flavor of Jedi and Star Wars, and it felt like a new world. And I'm waiting for that feeling again, basically, of just a new environment.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like
Phantom Menace is 4 for you, Grant.
Woo. Is it 4? Yeah.
4.
The opening has a lot to do. It's a lot to do with Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, honestly.
As a side note, as a person who loves all Star Wars movies, I love seeing people's rankings, especially ones that are wildly different than mine, because I'm like, oh, I get that. Like, I've never seen a ranking that I don't understand. Does that make sense? Like, like I just there's so much love. But I will say, like, it is fun to see them starting to feel comfortable telling stories in this era again. I think a lot of it was debating like how much of the old EU do we bring back? Do we recanonize, or do we just allow it to tell stories or parallel stories? So I'm glad we're getting more stuff, because
you know what's fun about Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon is there's no Anakin chosen one baggage with them.
Yep,
they're just sort of Jedi that just operate together in this sort of wonderful connected relationship, and
without any knowledge.
Beautiful to me. That's like a wonderful thing to see on screen.
That baggage is a perfect line, because they're also just like they're doing it without, and there's also this like there's the train. I was gonna say the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's more the train bearing down on them that they're not realizing is there, right? Like they don't know how important they're going to be in galactic history.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what's so compelling about it.
Yeah, and it has the star power in the canon of Star Wars and the pantheon of Star Wars. And they're two of my favorite characters in Star Wars of all time. And just see them their interaction. So it's just for me pure.
Yeah, like that interaction. I think Qui-Gon Obi-Wan interaction is. And I think that's what we're looking forward to in Deborah Chow's like Kenobi.
Yeah.
Like I think we want.
Yeah.
I think we all want to see Qui-Gon, Force Ghost appear in the sand, the particles of the sand kind of creating.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon or something.
Based on this week's rumors, we're gonna get it.
Any rumor? Oh, there are rumors about Qui-Gon now.
Yeah.
Good. I mean, we announced that like 106 episodes ago, but cool.
Yeah. Probably the same day they announced a Qui-Gon or an Obi-Wan show.
Obi-Wan series, yeah. I think we were just like, yes, Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson.
That's that was a quote actually. That was a sound buzz in I just put in. Any other news stories that y'all have that I missed? I'm sure there are some rumors, things you want to talk about.
We do John Watts is coming to Star Wars.
No, we didn't.
Bro, John Watts. Is that more rumor or is that news?
Unclear. I think it seems to have reached the top echelons of the second tier news sites, which usually means it's true. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, seems credible enough.
Yeah.
You know what I was thinking, guys? I really do think at the end of the day, like a Padawan show is the show. Like I want to see a character with a braid as the main character, just going through Jedi life. Like there's something about that that's so pure, that's so Lucas. I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and he's really, I mean, if you look at the Spider-Man movies, he's pretty adept at making 30-year-olds feel like they're teenagers. But I all joking aside, I think he does do well.
Yes,
he does do well tapping into that age group, right? So I think a Padawan show would be perfect for him.
Yeah, we'll see. It's allegedly a Jon Favreau produced series, and it says that he's in talks to direct at least one episode. I mean, seems like a lot of star power for one episode, but again,
they got Peyton Reed.
Peyton Reed,
right, came in, but it's odd, I mean, part of it, like, not to bring it back to Boba Fett again, but I think I was expecting more from Boba Fett, and I don't mean this in a bad way. I just meant like looking back to what we were expecting is that Robert Rodriguez was actually going to write more of it and do more of it, and it seems like Jon Favreau is just writes everything.
Yeah. I think he had a lot in his back pocket, and they're just like, yep, that was good. That was good. Great.
Yeah, because Boba Fett to me is a completely different show. Like it's we're going to Nar Shaddaa, we're going to Nal Hutta, we're dealing with like unknown ciphers that are like part of these criminal syndicates that we have to, unveil their identities and, take out that mob, whatever, like just sort of gangster like story. Like that's just. To me, that's always what Boba Fett was. He was in the gutter. That character was like deep in the bounty hunter, like in the hive, of scum and villainy. I feel like that character was he wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty. And
honestly, I mean, listen, I loved the show we got, but Grant, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
I want him helmet on,
all of this,
skulking around like hunting bounties or like
neon lighting,
double cross. Rubbing shoulders with Bosk and Forlom and other like famous bounty hunters and Dirge or whatever.
No, like fighting Bosk for like an entire episode.
Yeah.
Like nonstop, like Bourne identity, Bourne supremacy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's feature film money that they'd need to do that, and so.
Well, Bosk can like throw Boba Fett through a wall. Like it can get really intense. Like I don't know. Like you can do some crazy stuff.
No, it just seems weird that they just went. I mean, essentially, it's a 7-episode Seven Samurai with Boba Fett as the main character, which is like
everything is sort of Seven Samurai, and I'm worried about that. I'm worried about defending the locals and. Right now in the world, I actually am glad that Star Wars is a proponent of sort of like fighting off fascist,
agreed,
like imperialistic forces. Like I like that there's a lot of stories that stand for that, but it's almost like certain characters call for just weird, I think, like organic storylines that are sometimes not. They're not the ones that are executed. They're just kind of executing. Classic great stories that we that are important.
I think it's interesting. I feel like we're entering, we had 3 seasons of Jon Favreau back to back to back, right? And now we are starting to being reminded that we're getting a lot of other Star Wars shows that's not within the Mandoverse, right? And so it'll be interesting to see now we're gonna have an Andor show, an Obi-Wan show, an Acolyte show, a Lando show, maybe. We're gonna get all these other things that.
Wait, the Lando show it seems like it would be the most successful show.
I would think so, but
like
we've also heard the least about it.
Yeah, I don't know if that's happening.
Are you kidding me? That's gonna be that would be the best show. That would rule.
I'm talking like full synthwave, vaporwave, like Lando Calrissian show. Like,
I think never look back. No one would watch anything else.
Yeah. I agree. I think ideally what I'm hoping for in Star Wars is that we get one Mandoverse show, one non-Mandoverse show, one Mandoverse show, one non-Mando, like kind of back to back, where it's just like a little bit of a palate cleanser. Because I think if there's something between Mando season 2 and Boba Fett, I would have maybe felt a little like, again, I liked Boba Fett. I'm not anti-Boba Fett. I just feel like it would have been better to have been a palate cleanser.
Yeah, it was really just another Mandalorian season, which is
that's what's tough. That's what it feels like it's like it feels like it's like I don't know, like trial period or like experimental sort of like serial formatting for Star Wars storytelling, and I feel like we need to really take our time with these series, and like the series almost has to come to a really important catharsis that tells us something. Like when they set up Jango flashbacks in the beginning of Book of Boba Fett, I'm like, well, we better see a payoff for these. Like, like if you want to go dig deep on Boba Fett right now, like let's dig deep. I'm here for you, but like let's get to that resolve, and I'm sure we will in other seasons of the show. But I feel like that was like something I was really hoping there'd be a payoff for.
I know. I would have liked to seen like how he got his like Mandalorian or the mythosaur crest and his other, the leaf on his thing, and him spray painting his dad's armor.
I could have sworn in the show that Mando was going to drop the Darksaber and Boba was going to snatch it up and be like better with it than anyone.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then that's dangerous grounds for maybe the next Mandalore, or him wanting the mantle of Mandalore, and then having the mythos. Why does he have the mythosaur crest? Why does he have that? Why?
Well, all I know is if Boba Fett taught us anything, it's that we're going to get deep character revelations and giant moves and plot for Boba Fett in the middle of Mandalorian season 3.
Right.
Yeah, you're not wrong there.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Intertwined now with the Mandalorian plot.
That's because I really think they are going to start heading, get with that story going back to Mandalore, and that's where they could do that with Boba Fett, where they could be like, well, why are you here? And he could start dipping back into his father's roots, with Mandalore, and what brought Boba Fett back, because he had alternate armor for a long time. When he was a kid coming up, he had like a different helmet and all this other armor that he was using, that we saw in Clone Wars. So I want to see what brought him back. And so, I mean, I think we'll get that story. Anyways, we digress. That was a good rumination, though. Why don't we talk about High Republic Adventures, the latest arc?
Sure.
We're about to dip way into the High Republic, this and probably the next couple of episodes, too. So let's buckle up.
Welcome to another, probably one of the last episodes of Starlight Beacon Bulletin, because we are going to have to rename this segment Toot Sweet.
Yeah. Starlight Beacon is currently underwater.
Yeah,
submerged.
It's submerged. Yes. Well, I think we'll keep it. We're finishing up kind of the last remnants of the first phase, right? We still have.
Yes.
We have to finish up the Marvel Comics run and a couple of the books, but after that, we'll maybe come up with a new title when Phase 2 starts in the fall.
Right. We're going to do the High Republic Adventures arc 8 through 13, which is great. But then in coming weeks, we're going to do the High Republic arc, the main run on Marvel, of just the High Republic Marvel run. Yep. And then is it called Eye of the Storm?
Yeah, there's a 2-part separate miniseries.
2-part Eye of the Storm. Yeah, it's the
we'll be doing that.
Yeah.
And
a couple of the books, right? We have what was it? Midnight Horizon by Daniel Jose Alder, and a Justina Ireland book that I can't remember the title.
Mission to Disaster.
Yeah. So we got a little stragglers left.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe next week we do the books, and then the week after we we finish up with the comics, and then that's like, I think we're up to date on phase 2.
Yeah, that'll be it until I think the fall. I think then stuff's coming out, or maybe
Yeah.
So yeah, as Ben mentioned, we're gonna finish up the High Republic Adventures, the last arc, issues 8 through 13. Really take place between books 2 and 3 of the main, kind of everywhere up from the end of the attack on Valo to the crashing of Starlight Beacon.
Yeah,
for the most part. So these issues are brought to you by Older, Tabeo, Rodericks, Bruno, Nalty, and Wood.
Indeed. Yeah, and right, there's a couple other artists in there as well for different, right? Natalie, I think, was one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and yeah, excellent. I think we covered the first book in this arc.
I think so. Yeah.
On Takodana, they were, the young crew with Lula Talasova and Farzala, Cork, Court.
Court is all-time great.
Yeah, Buck.
Yeah,
right, Tormund Buck.
Bucket's blood.
Yeah, this whole squad, Bucket is a blood.
Master Buck.
Yeah, they all get back together on Starlight.
Farzala.
Yes,
my favorite design. I think new.
What do you love? You mentioned this. What do you love so much about Farzala?
Just design. I think it's very fantasy. It fits Star Wars in a really fun way.
Nice.
Yeah, it's got kind of like this weird, not weird, but it's got this like elfin fawn-like.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
Like a pan.
Yeah, pan, totally. Yeah, there you go. That's the word I'm looking for.
He's kind of an understated character in here. He doesn't, he's sort of ancillary. Like we don't follow a lot of his main run. Actually, yeah, there's a couple comics ago where he like chiefed the mission, but
he doesn't do a lot in these comics. But he's just a cool design. Just shout out to the design.
Totally. So they go, so in that first episode, they run off to Takodana. We meet Sav, who's the Jedi on a Jedi temple down there, and of course Maz Kanata. And they thwart Crix's first attack on Takodana. It was like a little softening blow by the Nihil, which apparently they're famous for. They send a small force and they send a large force.
Yeah.
And it was beaten back in that first episode, and we essentially established these characters.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty much the first. There's really like 2 big parts of this arc, and that's the first is the attack on Takodana. And during that we get a lot of Court's backstory.
Right. This is like issue 8 or 9 rather, right?
Yeah.
They move on more about Court, and we get his backstory there and why he wears the mask. And it turns out he was raised on Takodana, and he knows Sav took him in as more of a son than an adopted son than even a Padawan, but he definitely taught them in ways of the Force.
Yeah. Court was like officially like initially dropped off at the doorstep of Maz Kanata, who was raising him a little bit until found out he had Force powers, and then walked across the pond.
Yeah.
Dropped him off at Sav's.
Right.
Who, by the way, we'll move on. Sav has one of my favorite lightsaber designs I've ever seen.
Wait, she's a dual wielding purple lightsaber, right?
But it's an inverted dual lightsaber, which means instead of the lightsaber blades going out, they form together to form a bow staff.
Yes.
And then she disconnects them, which, I mean, since Donatello is my favorite Ninja Turtle, that's why I have a big love for bow staffs.
Nice. I'm also a bow staff person. Also,
so cool.
I'm a Matrim Cawthon fan, and he is also a bow wielder. Bows beat swords every day. I'm trying to find the name of his species.
Aloxian.
Aloxian, thank you. That is it.
Yeah. We get a lot of interesting backstory about the Aloxians. They grow up on a planet that have these what are they? They're crabs. Thank you.
They're giant crabs.
They're giant crab species or aliens. And the Aloxians are naturally these very aggressive species. And part of their trials or rites is that they drop their children off to fight these crab creatures. And if they survive, they take the skull of the crab and wear it as a mask. And there's this thought that this mask helps to lower their aggression. Yeah. And as they grow, their face expands, and eventually, once it grows large enough to crack the shell of the crab that's on their face, they drop that thing and are ready to join society. Basically, they're
an adult. Yeah. It's cool. They have it's actually like a symbiotic yet confrontational relationship with these crabs.
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And they just wreck shop. So you can imagine what a toddler Aloxian is. They show him ripping the arms off that massive red droid, like steward droid that's there helping Maz. He's a little beast. But I think that's showing that he's going to be a very strong fighter. And we do see that in here. He does lose his mask in an explosion, which I don't know if that counts, but I guess it does. But then he's free and becomes himself, and he takes out, like, very much like Sav, the opening scene of Sav from issue 8, jumping ship to ship and destroying it like a boss. He's OP. And we know from that last run we covered the film noir one that is escaping
Trail of Shadows.
Trail of Shadows, right?
Yep.
That he actually wounds a leveler.
Yeah.
Which is like, all right, so he's a fighter.
He is.
And his unmasking was just such a central part of this storyline, and
beautifully told.
I don't know. I think Daniel Jose Alder is just doing such incredible work in the adventures.
Well, and I appreciated the art telling when he loses his mask is told first person. The scenes shift to first person, so we see it from his eyes. And we see that it's really well done. Like, it's really well done. You can really feel it in that. The other thing I want to note is that during this, while Court is wrecking shop, we have Maz Kanata and Sav talking to each other. And they mention that, or I can't remember if it's here before, but Sav mentions that he meant that they met Maz Kanata while being undercover with the pirates at the Battle of Jedha, like over a century ago.
Yep.
I'm like, can we get that story, please?
Right. Battle of Jedha, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like that. Yeah, Sav is female, which I found out in this episode. Because he was like, he mentioned something about, he was like, oh, he's just a product of some corrupt old lady. And Maz responds, which one?
Force-sensitive lady.
Yeah, force-sensitive lady. Is the quote.
And they both say, and then Maz says which one. So we get confirmation, which is already kind of known, but we get double confirmation that Maz is force-sensitive. Yeah.
Yeah,
it was cool they did that with Maz, actually, that she is force sensitive, but not like a force wielder.
Right.
There's like some differentiation there and some iteration, which is cool. So that was pretty great. So we get this like great Court art. He was already, I think, one of our favorite characters anyways, at least mine. He was like kind of great. And then when he loses the mask, he starts speaking broken English too. I don't know how that works, but
I'm not sure what that was, but it was just maybe feeling part. I think part of what we get is basically what he's saying is he's feeling now part of the group, right? Like he's trying to be part of this larger. Because I think part of it is that the species, especially Court, doesn't trust himself around others, right? There's always this feeling of or fear of aggression, and then he basically says, "I have it under control. I'm good." Yeah.
So now that we've had this Court arc taken care of, we sort of switch back to Lula Talasova and her relationship with Zine, and then of course intimately tied up with Crix, who is Zine's friend from her planet, who is now a lieutenant for
Lula's friend.
No, Zine.
No, you're right.
Zine
You're right.
Is the purple pink tentacle head.
He's now Nile.
Yeah. And it's really kind of this awkward relationship. It's an interesting thing they investigated here, where like Zine's just sort of tagging along,
right?
Like, you can't be one of us, but you can hang. And it's like, I feel like that's a really awkward position for Zine to be in, but they keep it going.
Like, basically, and I remember from earlier in the series, like, you can't train, but you can follow and learn. Like,
learn, wink, wink. Because there was, I forget which Jedi is with them. I think it's Lula's master sort of takes her under his wing. And he's like, because he says at one point when they're going into battle, he's like, remember your training.
Yeah.
And I mean, she doesn't have a lightsaber, but she dual wields like DL-44s like Han Solo.
Right.
Which is pretty cool. And that's, I don't know. It's an interesting thing. So then we get a lot of introspection from Lula thinking about how she has this connection to Zine, and she doesn't really know what that means for her service in the Jedi Order.
Right. Yeah, and in the middle of this, well, actually, yeah, I mean that's it for the kind of the first part of the arc, right? We then go back to Starlight Beacon. The attack on Takodana has been thwarted for the most part, and then we have a kind of a little breather a bit, right? We have all that introspection going on with, at this point, Lula, right? We have Lula thinking about what it means to be, and then we have the great Jedi Rumble race.
Yeah. And now for something completely different.
Yeah. In the meanwhile, like between this, which is really just a race through Starlight Beacon, and as we're reminded, there are no rules. We were reminded several times.
There are no rules.
There are no rules. But we do get kind of the bigger thing plot-wise is in the interstitials, we get more of Crix's story.
Yeah.
Talking about his kind of master plan, which is like basically at the end of the day is you know, quickly subverted by I can't remember the other character's name, the other Nihil's name.
Oh my gosh, Savrodo or something. It's also another Sav name. I'm looking at her right now.
Yeah,
Subtina or something.
Yeah, Sabatina.
Sabatina Krill or something.
Krill, because it's the Krill sisters.
Yeah,
right.
Krill.
So it's Krill. So it's one of the Krills.
You're talking about the undercover one.
Yeah,
the ones that are at Takodana.
Right, but the one that ends up destructing and then coming back and then working beside Crix.
Right.
And the Krill sisters' big plan is basically just to have Crix kill Lula or kill Zine. Right. And then for the Jedi to kill Crix in return, which then basically shows that the Jedi are full of bunk.
Hooey.
Yeah.
Was that okay. I guess that character was both characters. All right. She's just wearing a helmet in like later ones, so it kind of threw me off. Sabata is her name.
Sabata, Krill.
That sounds right. I don't have her last name here, but that's Sabata's the one, and there was some dealings with Crix, and he's working with someone else, and she's got this whole plan that it's like, I know how this is going to play out. Like they're not going to be able to kill each other. They're going to take you alive, and that'll be their downfall. That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But we meet this cool character called Deebko. Yeah, who's got like this like air like fighter pilot mask with tentacles spilling out all over it and like a hood, and they're in these fighting pits, which is sort of sad, but on brand for the Nihil.
Right.
That they're there, and pretty interesting characters, and so we get some fun Nihil stuff, and then completely counterpointed with the levity of this great rumble race.
Right. Which we saw part of this when we talked about Trail of Shadows, right? We saw the moment where Ram runs through the main characters of the Trail of Shadows, and what's really funny is in issue 11 of this, we get the other side of that. We get the same scene told from Ram's perspective, which is kind of a nice little nod.
Yeah, Ram Jamaran.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I thought that took place right before the explosion on Starlight Beacon, but then this episode ends.
It's a little wonky. The timeline's a little wonky because I think the last. I don't have anything. I was gonna make some excuses, but it's a little wonky for sure.
Yeah, because I thought this was gonna end with the explosion on Starlight, and they were all gonna have to like scramble off or something. But when they seem to all sort of depart, or maybe I think some are left behind, and that's how they get around it. But I don't know. The last scene is like them with Tormund Buck looking up at Starlight Beacon. So I don't know. Maybe they sort of rush in later, but
I think so. I think they're kind of not around for that.
Yeah, something.
Yada yada yada.
Come here for synergy. We'll help you out.
Yeah. And then we get the last two issues, which is mostly about Crix being captured. And the other thing that we were talking about prior to recording is that there's a lot referenced that is happening on Corellia, right? Corellia is mentioned a lot. We see it briefly. We know that's part of Ro's plan. We know it's part of Crix a little bit. But as often happens with this intersected synergistic storytelling, I started realizing going, I'm missing something. And what we're missing is the Midnight Horizon book by Alder.
Okay, so that's going to fill in some of this on Corellia.
I think that's because when I was looking through, which I have, but we haven't read yet. As I looked through it, it's like the first chapter takes place in Corellia. Like I think that's explaining what's going on there.
Let's talk about that next week.
Because Comac Vitus and Breathe Silas are in this too.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah,
which is why we know that that Crean was left with Buck, right? Like she's left with a different master. And that's really the crux of these last two issues of the High Republic Adventures is the knighting of a lot of the characters we've been following for the past 13 issues.
They look a lot older now. I mean, you can see they've grown up from across phase 1 and now entering into phase 2. They're like young teenagers now.
Yeah.
They're having emotions and feelings for one another, even though it's like
romance
really...
is blossoming, right? Like things that I mean, I think I can't remember if Lula says it or not, but someone mentions a year since they met.
Mm-hmm.
So that seems to be from issue 1 to issue 13, a year's passed in the time frame of this. Yeah. Which a lot can happen in the years a year of a teenager.
Yeah. Grant, do you have any thoughts on Lula and
Lula tell us Sorrow is like one of my favorite characters, and I love Zine. I'm just excited to see more of that story continue. I'm excited to read Midnight Horizon because I feel like that will explain more of kind of like the Corellia story that you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. I think the other question I have really from all this is that what's going on with Yoda?
Yeah. We didn't talk about it this time around, but there's this great panel in issue 8 where they're just like, I'm sure you all have questions, right? And they're like, what's going on Valo? Is Loden Greatstorm a corn husk now? And then there's like, and two people are like, Farzal was like, can we go find Master Yoda now?
Yeah, where's Yoda? Yeah.
And then another one's like, where's Master Yoda?
Which we've read all the ancillary material, unless it's in one of these two other books we haven't read. I also want to know where's Yoda. Like, it's just interesting. I don't know if they took him out of if they have plans for him in phase 2 or what.
Valo, you'd think he would be there.
Yeah.
Or they're being super careful. It's like, sorry, you can't touch Yoda because we don't know what we want to do with him.
But it's weird because he has to be somewhere. Like, he's got to be doing something. So they have to have some explanation. So I don't know if there's.
We get him in flashbacks and stuff.
Yeah.
And
he was a big. Yeah. And he was a big part of the first half of the series, right? He was on the Jedi, the Padawan ship with the Padawan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he seems to deal a lot more with younglings, and we see a new crop of younglings come in. And there's actually a touching scene with Court and another Aloxi child, and they bro down, and Farzal sees it and hangs out. And it's pretty cool. We don't see a lot of that. Like, oh, you're my same species. Let me give you a hand, like adjusting to this.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was good to see.
Yeah. It was fun to see. It was fun to see another, like, they obviously love Court as much as we do.
Great character.
Yeah, I did see when I was looking at Wikipedia, because I was trying to figure out who were on the covers of these novels, Midnight Horizons and Mission to Disaster, that Yoda is mentioned, and not just like a passing mention. It's like he's in those books at some point.
Okay, so maybe we get some answers there,
or maybe it'll be a flashback.
Who knows?
Yeah. So I don't know. That's pretty much the whole spectrum there, the full thing. It went a lot of different places. We had like the Court issues and the Lula issues. She's being very introspective, and so that's how it ends up, right? Lula
and the Zine and Crix through line.
Yep, right. Zine and Crix, obviously, but Lula's refusal of being knighted. She's like, I don't think I'm ready yet.
Yeah, because she's dealing with that attachment she has, right, to Lula and what that means, and you know, the romantic love that's being felt between those two characters, which is great storytelling. And I love this story. And once again, we have star-crossed lovers in Star Wars, right? Like, we have Lula rushing off to go try to save the day.
Indeed. So it'll be cool. This is a fun series. I know it's for like a younger reader audience and whatever. It's a little cutesy, but it's fun.
It is, but I'm trying to figure out what the age
Yeah, because it's
Like-
obviously getting older. They've already like aged
Yeah.
themselves into teenagers. So, yeah.
Yeah,
know.
definitely like tweens, but like dealing with, it's not dumbed down. Like I read these
Right.
books and like they're dealing with darkness and
They're a little
human
dumbed down.
emotions and a little for sure, but not like not like reading a kid's like
Mm.
Mickey
No.
Mouse book.
no.
Like it's they're dealing with stuff. It's definitely meant for younger audiences, but like it's definitely still relatable. I enjoy it. Yeah.
I like this. This is the best adventures run I'd read in a
Yeah.
long time, because
Yeah.
I read some lengthy sequel trilogy Star Wars Adventure series, and they were good. But
Yeah.
like I really like this. I thought
Yeah, the
Dana
main
Jose Alder just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, agreed. The main Star Wars Adventures run is hit or miss.
Yeah,
and
main
this
Star Wars.
has just been solid. Yeah.
Sometimes it's really good though. Sometimes the main Star Wars Adventures run.
Oh yeah,
like,
there's
some
some
of those
really good
issues
ones.
are really pulpy and really fun. And just
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, why don't we call that an episode for us this week? Again, next week, I think we're going to try and cover a book, maybe 2 books. I don't know. And then we'll probably do the other High Republic comics after that. So we'll just stay in the High Republic for a while and just like catch up and be here for the disaster at Starlight Beacon.
For light in life.
All right. So thanks everyone for listening to us this week. Who knows what happens next week in the galaxy far, far away. So we'll be here talking about it one way or the other. Thanks very much. And may this, what is it? It's the Force.
The Force. I believe it's the Force.
Force, I think.
That's how it works. The Force.
The
Vaguely
Force.
familiar.
The Force, right. May the wills be with you.
This is Grex Kondak signing off. For the latest breaking news, follow @CoreWorldNews on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you and good night.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Core World News. All there.
Well, I have a question for you. We're all this whole thing about the pillars, like we're talking about, like the pillars of Star Wars, or fuck it, like we just set these things up and then you can tell whatever story you want in between. Is there actually only one way to tell Star Wars?
What do you mean by one way?
Well, I mean, like maybe it shouldn't be played with. Maybe it should, like maybe that sort of, the way Lucas build these things in this sort of stony myth, where it's like it's a myth and it's sort of ham-fisted and like, like should all this?
There's also genres though. There's genres at play. So
Yeah,
you can make a war
exactly
film
what
like
we're
Rogue
talking about,
One, or you can make a swashbuckling epic like
Mhm.
Solo. We were just talking about those right before hitting record. There's different genres to
We also
conquer. I
have
still
to-
think
we
there's
also
like
have to
a
do it.
pulpy. There's a pulpy action Star Wars that hasn't been made yet, by the way, like a Dash Rendar. There
Yeah.
is something there that I think people would love. A kind of it's almost the most self-aware Star Wars. The kind of I don't know. It could be. Really
Wouldn't that be the next edition of the Solo verse, like sort of Han Solo
essentially,
coming into his own and just like
that's
him
why Han
dashing
Solo's a
across
great
the-
character, because
Yeah.
he can investigate that.
I'll answer your question with a rhetorical question, Ben, and that is like it depends on what do you want out of Star Wars? I don't mean you, right? But I just mean everyone, because like yes, if you want Star Wars to be its truest Star Wars form, which by the way I think went out the window the second you made the prequels. I'm just saying, like those movies to me are not at all like the original trilogy at all.
No, the world building World building is the main character.
Yeah, I feel like the sequel trilogy is much closer in tone to the original trilogy than the prequel trilogy. I will always argue that, and I think maybe that's part of where some of the sequel stuff tripped up. But I feel like it depends. Like, yeah, you can keep telling those stories, and those specific way to tell the Star Wars stories work, but you're gonna burn out real quick, right? So it's just like if Lucas held control of Star Wars and was only doing Star Wars, we probably would have only gotten 9 movies in total, and maybe the Solo movie because he promised it to Kasdan. So maybe we had like 10 Star Wars movies.
Solo,
that
eerily
enough
enough,
forever.
feels the most Lucas. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as Filoni is, considers himself the closest with Lucas recently because he actually got a chance to work with Lucas. I mean, Kasdan worked with him much more, and during, while the original trilogy was being made. So I think that makes sense. It's like, whether Larry would ever say it or not, I think he's got deeper roots into original trilogy Star Wars than anyone.
Yeah, I mean, he sat with Lucas and told him what he thought Han's backstory was, and I feel like that's, and Grant, you mentioned the genre thing. I feel like, again, that's the point of us doing these pillar episodes, is that we like trying to identify what's at the core DNA of every Star Wars movies, and what differs is what genre you layer that on top of, and how much you focus in on certain of the pillars. Like I feel like that's the way you keep reinventing and keeping Star Wars fresh, is you play around with which pillar is going to be strongest, knowing that the other pillars are still surrounding it, and which genre are you going to layer on top of, and that combination allows you infinite storytelling.
Yeah, I just wanted to present an antithesis to the thesis we've been presenting this whole time. Just
you know what,
I
actually do think there is only one way to make Star Wars, but that is by incorporating the many elements that we've dictated our pillars, and we'll add more pillars to the list. But
right, but
and then in any order, obviously.
Yeah, but I guess like directorially, like the way that the actors playing it, because I'm looking, we were just talking about the MCU and how the variety and the width of the variation between these movies. It's like, I don't think we want that in Star Wars. Like it shouldn't be that wild. And this is going against everything I've said for 225 episodes, but it shouldn't, I don't think it should be, I don't know. There's an argument to be made that, there shouldn't be a Quentin Tarantino Star Wars movie that's just like, plucky and weird and all that stuff. Like it does sort of have to follow these pillars pretty closely, and the original influences pretty closely to
a Saga film with the crawl is a specific sort of hero's journey.
Yeah, there's only one way to tell those stories.
Right. Journey. Yeah. That's only one way to do that story.
But I agree with, I always joke about a Wes Anderson Star Wars movie, but like it's literally a joke. Like I don't actually want to see that, and I love it, Wes Anderson.
Well, we know Taika Waititi's doing a Star Wars.
Right, but we know he can play within the boundaries, right? Because like Thor Ragnarok is wild, but when you really watch it, it still plays within the MCU pretty closely, right? It still knows what's what a Marvel movie is.
Yeah, I think so. It doesn't feel like such a wild outlier. Okay, thanks for humoring me.
No, yeah, there are many genres to entertain too. Like you can do. There's people want to lean more horror, people want to lean more action, people want to lean more like comedy.
I think I'd like to see that too, because I don't want to just see the same movie over and over again. Same with the MCU, right? That's why the Spider-Man No Way Home was so refreshing, because it didn't feel like it fell into the same MCU tropes that that they've established over and over again. It was definitely a storytelling outlier, and it was like genius writing and
we were even talking about like fighter pilots. Like we would love a show that's X-Wing pilots, if that is what Rangers of the New Republic was,
right? Or even Rogue Squadron.
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, I think, I think we'll get there. I think what's interesting is, there's been a lot of debate online about Mandalorian versus Boba Fett, right? In terms of like the storytelling. Those shows are very, very similar in tone. I think two things. One thing that separates them is length, as we've talked about quite a bit, so I won't, belabor that point, but one's more ponderous, which is Boba Fett, and one's more serial of the week, which is the Mandalorian. Part of me is just like, yes, I want diversity in storytelling and also diversity in settings. Like I am really looking forward to Obi-Wan. You know what I'm not really looking forward to?
The desert.
The
Tatooine.
Oh, Tatooine.
Tatooine. Yeah. And I love Tatooine, but I'm like, I'm good. I'm good if we don't see Tatooine. Like I remember talking with you guys and being like, I don't want him ever to leave Tatooine. Remember I said that about Obi-Wan?
Well,
now I want him to leave in episode 1.
I think he is going to leave.
I hope so.
Honestly,
I can't do another 6 episodes on Tatooine. I'm sorry, I just can't.
I know Joel Edgerton is back as Owen Lars, and I imagine Obi's going to go to Owen and be like, I gotta go check on this Jedi. I'll be back.
Yeah.
Like, watch over the boy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think part of what I'm kind of getting at is I feel like
But Owen's not going to be able to do it. He can't defend.
No.
Luke from
I want
the
Star
Skywalker
Wars
one.
to be a little braver in its storytelling without going too out there.
Yeah, I think that's the happy medium there, right?
Yeah.
The thing that I'm looking forward to in Obi-Wan is, that chest that Obi-Wan reaches into and grabs out Anakin Skywalker, Anakin's lightsaber and hands it.
Mhm.
There's going to be some awesome things in there. I want Qui-Gon's lightsaber, maybe Yoda's lightsaber, like his old armor from the Clone Wars. Like I want to see all that stuff. I want to see
Agreed.
inside that chest, and like for a good frame or 7.
I mean, also, if we spend like 6 episodes in that area of Tatooine, I'm fine.
Yeah,
Like there
Right.
could be 6 episodes in his hut.
I know. I really want to investigate his hut like big time. I want
Yeah.
to see what goes on there. All right, awesome. Shall we start this thing?
Sure.